Hey, everybody. Good evening. It's 7 o'clock on Sunday, and this is the Conservative Corner. I know I've been gone for a while, so we're easing me back into it. It's 7 o'clock, so if you're supposed to be here, you're at the right place. If you're not supposed to be here, you're in the wrong place, but you can hang out for a while. You might like it, or you might not. I don't know. It's all subjective at this point, whether you like it or not. Again, I'm Seth Eisenberg. We also, if you want to join in on the chat, you can do that where I think if you're on Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, wherever, I think there's a chat you can put into the chat. It'll come up here and I'll try to get to your questions. If I don't, I'm not ignoring you. It's just that I'm probably focused on something else. But by all means, join in, say hey, or give your opinion, whatever you want to do. I'll start it off so everybody can see it. So I hope you've all had a good weekend. It's a 3-day weekend, so we still got one more day off, which is cool. So yeah, you got that going for you. Go back to it's a short week, which is even better. So yeah, it's going to be a pretty interesting, fun week, I guess. Slow, easy, wet. At least it's not hot. I don't know where you're at, but last week it was 101 degrees, and then that night it went to like 40, and then it just started raining. So it's been a real treat here in Maryland. I don't think Maryland has weather. I think it has malaria. It's my opinion. We got a really big show. Well, they're always big shows. We got a really cool show, a couple guests coming on, and some interesting stuff we're going to talk about. So I'm going to get right into breaking news, and we're going to bring on the first guest, and we're going to talk with him. And then we'll go into the second segment, have another guest that's supposed to be here. We'll talk with him and go over what we're going to talk about then. But let's get into breaking news first because it's always fun. Breaking news is always interesting. So the first, I know everyone's heard about this. I believe it was yesterday. This gentleman, his last name is Best, who believes he's Jesus Christ, I think I have on my notes somewhere, took a shot at the, happened after 6 p.m. A male approached the Secret Service checkpoint at 17th Street in Pennsylvania, pulled a gun from his bag and opened fire on officers. The officers returned fire and shot the suspect, who was taken to a hospital where he was later pronounced dead. The Secret Service said the agency in the shooting remains under investigation. A bystander was also shot, Secret Service said, but it was unclear who fired the round that injured that person. Their condition was not immediately available. 6 senior law enforcement officials briefed on the matter identified the suspect, the gentleman here next to me, as 21-year-old Nasir Best. Last name Best, like the Conservative Corner is the best podcast in the world. Nasir Best. That's all we really know about him right now. I've seen some, again, I'm going to start using this because it makes sense. The Bongino rule. Nothing's been confirmed right now, but I've read that he was a Muslim. And then I read that he was, had a mental issue. Well, if he thinks he's Jesus, he's got a mental issue. Normal people don't walk around going, hey, I'm Jesus. And then start shooting at people because it kind of, the antithesis of one another, gunplay and Jesus. But he was killed on the scene, brought to a hospital and pronounced dead. The bystander was shot trying to gain entrance into the White House is what they're assuming. So once again, I'm going to assume that he is a Democrat. And we all know Democrats are really violent people. Obviously, this is what the 10th assassination attempt and by a Democrat. Because they get angry, and rather than use their words, they get violent and start shooting and hurting people. So yeah, that happened yesterday, about 6 p.m. in D.C. Thankfully, no officers were hurt. Nobody in the White House was hurt. Unfortunately, one bystander was hurt. And again, I haven't seen any confirmation on what their status is or anything. Hopefully they're fine and already home. The good news is Mr. Best was put down. And that's how this all should be resolved. Anytime someone pulls a gun, it doesn't matter if you're pulling a gun at the White House or at the grocery store or on the street corner. If you're pointing a gun at somebody who's done nothing to you, you deserve to be put down like a rabid animal, because you've just proven at that moment in time you can no longer function in a civilized society. You can't control your emotions. So you should be put down. So I don't feel bad when these people are put down. I'm not one of these people that go, he didn't do nothing. My baby's innocent. He shot at people. And unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, what side you're looking at it from, he shot at people that know how to shoot better than him. End of story. Since we're on the subject of morons, this is one of my favorite morons right now in the news. I don't know if you've seen him or anything like that. Let me get his name is Representative Justin J. Pearson. And I believe this was in Tennessee, where they did the redistricting and rewrote the maps, and everything is even now. There's no all black districts. There's no all white districts. They're all mixed. And apparently this mental giant is upset that everything is even now. Keep in mind, before the maps were redrawn, and I believe it was his district was all black, it was fine. Then the racism's fine. But the minute the Supreme Court ruled, hey, you can't do that anymore. You can't just base districts on color. They have to be equal. Then he got upset. He's upset about that. He was removed or suspended from the committees he was on, state level, he was on. And of course, now he's screaming racism. They're doing it because it's racism. I've always said, when in doubt and you're losing the argument, racism. It's because of racism. It's not because I'm an idiot. It's not because during the session I screamed and yelled and threatened another or senator. It's because it's racism. No, it's because they're trying to make things fair. And I can't remember who said it, but someone said, when you're so used to receiving, special treatment, as soon as you start getting treated normally, it becomes unfair. It's ridiculous. Politics is not about color. It's about who better represents your district. Good senator, if he's really good, it doesn't matter what his district will be made up of. He'll get reelected. If he's doing his job, it shouldn't matter who's voting for him. But you can't tell anybody that. That's just not how it works, I guess. I don't know. Maybe where I'm from, that's how it works, but not where he's from. And he's doing this. And I wonder if he knows where that came from. Does anybody else know where that came from other than me? Because I know where that came from. So if you know where it is, put it in the chat. I'm not trying to you don't know anything. I know more than you. I'm just curious to know if anybody else knows where that first happened. Or better yet, during what event did this happen? We'll put it that way. So yeah, there's a lot more breaking news, but like I said, we have a pretty big show. Got some guests on. I don't want to keep them waiting. Not that I normally keep anybody waiting. So what we're going to do is I'm going to bring on my first guest. He's running for Frederick County Board of Education. Now, I know what everybody says when they, well, Seth, I live in Iowa, or Seth, I'm in Italy. What does that have to do with me? The problems that we have locally with education are nationwide. It's not just, only Frederick County has this problem. Every county is facing an educational problem. It's not just here. So what he talks about now, you probably go, wait, yeah, that's happening here too. That's happening here. So don't assume just because it's local, it's not going to have a direct effect or correlate with where you're at, because it probably will. So I'm going to bring on, and again, I'm going through some medical stuff, so I don't mean to cough or clear my throat in your face. It's either I do that or I pass out. So let me know what you want me to do. So I'm going to bring on Sam Rosenbloom. He's running for the Frederick County Board of Education. Let me get him up here. Remember, I set this up, so if it's wrong, it's wrong. Oh, I did it. I did it right. Sam, how are you?
I'm doing great, Seth. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Not a problem. Like I said, you're running for Board of Education. I ran for Board of Education in 2018. I got my ass kicked. I think I got like 3,300 votes or something like that, which is actually 2,999 more votes than I thought I was going to get. But the Board of Education in Frederick County is cutthroat. I mean, I'm sure you're learning that now as you're running. So before we get into the real, questions about why, what is the most surprising thing you've learned since you started running? What has caught you completely off guard?
Well, I initially thought that education was literally about education, but now I see there's a lot of ideology in it. There's a lot of, I would say, almost like extreme ideology, and also just this is my first time running for elected office, and there's a lot of extremism on both sides. I mean, I can't believe it's very expensive to run. You have to buy signs and put up signs, and the amount of signs I've had that have been, painted and defaced and stolen and things like this. It's very, very disappointing.
Yeah, when I ran, I think I bought like 50 signs, and by I think a couple days before the election, 25 have been stolen or defaced and torn up. So it was, I was mildly surprised. Like you said, it's a Board of Education. I'm not running for president of the U.S. I'm not running for governor. I was running for Board of Education, and people were that upset that I was running that they're going to destroy my property. So I understand exactly what you mean. That's frustrating.
It's crazy.
Crazy is being polite.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, in my eyes, this is almost like the lowest level of elected office.
Yes,
and,
we're like one step above dog catcher.
Yeah, and there's this much hostility.
Yes, it's insane. And like you said, it's supposed to be about education and kids. That's it. That's all it's about. But like you said, there's a lot of crackpots on both sides of the aisle that make it personal, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, there's some people that have said some things to me personally that it's almost unhinged. I mean, the word crackpot has come up a while. People have asked me questions initially, to fill out a lot of questionnaires and this and that. And I've gone back. I went back to one organization, and I said, well, maybe you just should have asked people, for a mental health screening, or some basic, issues about their extreme views or something. Because I'm not joking. There are some people that have said some things which you just absolutely wouldn't believe. Crazy conspiracy theories and it's just and those are the people running for office.
Yeah, I used to bring my son. We used to do like town halls when I ran with a couple other candidates. So I'd bring my son and my girlfriend at the time, and it got to the point where I couldn't bring him anymore. It would just get so out of hand. I was like, I got a kid in here. He's like 10 years or 9 years old. What are you doing? Right. So I was like, y'all can't come anymore. This is ridiculous. I don't know if something's going to get real crazy one day, and I don't want you all there. So I stopped bringing them. It was, like you said, it was insanity. All right, so here's the first big question that I ask everybody that's running when they come on here. Why do you want to run? What got you off the couch or whatever that made you say, you know what, enough's enough. I got to do something.
I had been going to a lot of the school board meetings in a very naive way. I thought people who are, involved in the school board and directing, over $1 billion budget, I thought they were, these super qualified people. And then I realized, you know what? They're just like the people next door. Or one person's an insurance salesman, one person's this, one person's that. And I thought, I have something really unique to offer. And my perspective is about business, manufacturing, and sort of business literacy and everything. And the more I started asking questions about it, the more I realized it's just a big empty void that really should not exist. And a lot of people are just used to how the sort of the status quo. But those of us that are a little bit older, I remember when I was in the 8th grade in the early, like 1971 or 72, I remember seeing someone that had the first pair of sneakers that was not manufactured in the United States. The pair of Pumas, I think they were made in Germany or something like this, right? And now you can't buy anything made in the United States. A simple shirt, button-down shirt, not a single shirt is manufactured in the United States. And so what I was hoping was that we could arrange like field trips to different industries. There's a company called Northern Virginia Realty in Frederick, and they have a lot of automated manufacturing. They manufacture the modular parts of homes, and they build homes. And we have some pharmaceutical manufacturing. There's something,
Right. Yeah.
hoping to integrate that into existing classrooms. So you could go back to your math class, and so then the math teacher could then teach about why mathematically, why is this company, successful, but it would be unsuccessful to try to make a shirt in the United States, right? The labor would cost $120 just the labor, and so I started thinking about that. And I started doing a little research into it, and small businesses. Small businesses are really the economic engine of the economy, but
That's
people
true.
are just kind of used to it. So I tried to give some examples of things to people about things that at the time were impossible. I hadn't planned on this. This was completely impromptu, but on Friday night I was at like a little talk where I was invited. It was called the Civil Society Supper Club, and I was at the table, and I brought this old sewing machine that I bought a few weeks ago. Okay, and I was trying to explain to the people there about manufacturing, and this machine was manufactured in 1878, and people knew how to make machines. They knew how to make steam engines and railroad engines and things like this. But this machine it works perfectly, by the way. It's 150 years old, and it actually works better than a modern machine. And after having some antique machines, I kind of understood the expression, like it works like a sewing machine. This was a very it was a very high precision type machine to work really fast and to bobbin to catch a little piece of thread underneath it and everything. And so when they made this was before indoor plumbing, before there was electric lights, before there was electricity, before there was electric motors. How did they do it? And they had energy from water and from steam and things like this, and they made precision machines. And after the machine was invented, it was basically deemed impossible to make it for the home market, to bring it down to bring the cost down. But so the inventors of the machine, they were finished. The machine was completely invented. So the business people, the lawyers got together, and they figured out how to share patents, so they didn't have continual conflict. The different companies that had worked on it, and they eventually made millions of them per week. And they knew that they had to make massive quantities in order to bring the cost down to where people could afford it. And so, my main point is, it was basically known to be impossible. They knew what was possible and they knew what was impossible, but because there was like this infinite market and people spent so much time selling, it was not uncommon to spend 50% of your time selling.
True.
They just kept on plugging away at it and plugging away at it. And finally, they built these massive factories that had over 100,000 employees. And they were making these things by the millions in order to bring the cost down. So the reason why I talked about that is because today there are people, mostly young people and even teachers, they think that it's impossible to manufacture something in the United States. So I'll give you an example of a few things that come to mind. One of the things that's interesting is I was watching a show on YouTube, it's called Undecided by Mike Farrell, okay? And he showed a half an acre building that was doing indoor, like vertical farming. And he said in this half an acre building, they grew 3.5 million pounds of vegetables per year, okay? And they only employed disabled people. Okay? So I was at a training session that was given by the Board of Education and the superintendent, Dr. Dyson. And I asked them during the training session, is there any preference for Frederick businesses? And it was really interesting because they started deflecting, well, this or that. Well, we buy, apples from Catoctin Orchard. And they said, wait a second, in the procurement regulations, does it say anywhere in writing that there's a preference, right? And so they just didn't know, right? Now, Frederick County school system, aside from the federal government is the largest employer. They're the largest procurer, right? So they have procurement regulations. And these people are supposed to be super smart. There's all a bunch of people that are on the board, but no one knew the answer. But they did actually send me the regulations later. And the answer is there's no preference whatsoever for Frederick, right? And then one of the board members said, oh, well, it all has to do with cost and everything. I said, well, I'm not talking about cost. If all the cost is the same, wouldn't you want to encourage a business in Frederick to do business with the Frederick County school system? And when children are disabled or they have some disability, it's not like you're going to stop loving them when they're finished with the school system, right? You're going to want them to be independent. Don't you want businesses to be preferred if they employ disabled individuals, right? And so, but if there's not like a holistic view. Although the people that are running for office, they're very smooth talkers, and they'll tell you, why what they're doing is so great and everything, and this and that, and how they're complying with the law. But no one will get up and maybe, go to their general counsel and say, well, how can we adjust these regulations to do something good for the people? Another example, I went to Chat GPT or Copilot, whatever, and I just asked, what's the most expensive part of making a pair of sneakers? It's funny how you can do instant research these days, And it says, well, sewing the top of the sneakers. That's the most expensive thing. Okay. So then I said, is there any machinery, automated machinery that does that automatically, right? With no human labor involved. It gave me one machine that was made in Korea that did it, right? And then I went to then if you go and you look at different kinds of sneakers like Skechers and things like that, you'll see, some of these designs have very little sewing on top. And then you understand it from a manufacturing point of view, right? And then I was thinking, that would be a really interesting thing in a high school math class to then discuss, well, how much labor is now involved in this? And the idea is that, maybe 10 years after graduating from high school, people will take a chance. Maybe it's manufacturing. Maybe it's just starting a business. What's the difference? They have a really good technical education program, but what's the difference between being an employee and an employer, right? Okay, now I have a little bit of plumbing, experience behind me. There's very little overhead in this business. My entire business is in my truck. I don't have to rent the retail store and sign a 5-year lease and go into debt. You know what I mean? So maybe when you're younger, you'd be able to start a business. But are we really orienting people towards that? And like I said, business and small business is really the machinery of the economy. I've talked to people here. I talked to the individual that owns a store called the Bin Store. And he's like it's called the Bargain Bin. And maybe I shouldn't have mentioned his name, but he's very disappointed. He was very disappointed, complaining about the city is very, not conducive to doing business, about all these different issues and things like that. So the school board, the city government, not really working together. And really, what is the point of education? It is the school system is not all this ideology. It's really not even sports and a lot of things that the budget is very heavy in. A lot of administrators, it's hard to even figure out what a lot of these people do, in the school. But isn't it to teach children the skills that they need to survive? Not every child's going to end up like me, becoming an engineer or something like that. But I have plenty of examples of people in my family that had high school educations and then went on to have phenomenally successful businesses.
What do you think? And again, like I told everybody before we started, that just because we're talking Frederick County doesn't mean it's not applicable to any board of education anywhere in the country. What do you think, or what do you see as the number one problem with the Board of Education in Frederick County? What do you think is their biggest obstacle to anything that's going on right now? In your opinion, what do you think?
Well, I'm gonna answer it kind of like indirectly. There's obviously a lot of problems. There's tremendous amount of the expense, the total amount of property taxes that go in. I've talked to certain people, and they've said it's the overcrowding. I get a lot of emails through my website now, and people have complained to me they have 45 people in a class. Some of the classrooms have some of the rooms have 2 classes in it for lack of space. I didn't even think that was even possible. And I said, I wrote back in the email, I said, well, if that is actually happening, and I believe it, then all of the members of the school board should resign in complete disgrace. And sometimes I joke about it because I know Colt Black I know him personally.
Yeah, he's been on the show.
I said, I blame people, in particular, people like Colt Black, right? Because I can blame Colt Black because he's a realist person. Maybe it's because of his profession. Maybe it's because he deals with, the inevitability of death. He owns a funeral home and so forth.
Right.
And if you tell him something, he will recognize, yes, that what we did there is a mistake, or that's a really good idea, or we want to, condition people and to get people inspired. I tried to call up some companies. I actually tried to call the NVR company and said, hey, could we have a tour of the facility? Could we bring students to see, what a successful business looks like? And they said, well, they didn't want to get involved in politics and everything. So the people have asked me, like, well, what would I do if I got elected? So the school board really votes on different policy. But I consider myself sort of an out-of-the-box thinker a little bit. Whenever I worked for the federal government, I was always doing, different sorts of things. And I said, well, if I'm an elected official and I have the color of authority, I would get in my car, I'll go down to our state government in Annapolis, and I would say, will you please call some of these companies? And I would give them a list of companies to say, you're doing business in Maryland. You're employing Maryland people. You're paying Maryland taxes. You're making money in Maryland. We would like you to be able to give tours to some of the students to see some of these factories, how things are made. And then when you give students a tour of these factories, by the way, you can say, you see the big house, always people want to know, who owns that big house? That's the guy that took a chance and started a company.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be a $1 billion company. It could just be a plumbing company, and one guy decides to hire a few of his friends, and they start a small company. But that was a person that made a success out of it. He's probably the hardest working person, in the neighborhood. But to show people this is what success looks like. It doesn't have to be like Musk, shooting a rocket to the moon. It could just be something as simple as plumbing or manufacturing a shirt. In the 1970s and 80s, when things started getting, outsourced to all these different factories around the world, labor was cheap. I remember going to China in the mid 80s, and the cost of labor was about $1 a day. That's what a factory earner. Now it's much, much higher. And there's something interesting about making a product. It used to be, if someone had a little label that said it was handmade, that was like the sign of quality, right? Handmade. But if you do all your manufacturing by hand, handmade isn't the sign of quality. In China, they want something machine made. They want something that's going to be, uniform and precision, and it's going to work fast, and it's going to do the job much quicker. So
True.
If all you have to do is Google automatic shirt manufacturing, and you will see like a computer controlled machine called a CNC sewing machine that will virtually sew and flip the buttons in and make the buttonholes, and does it faster than you can blink, and it's amazing. So my thought process is, okay, now how much human labor is in making something like a shirt or a shoe or something like this? Have they kind of put themselves out of business? Because if they've automated it to such a degree, maybe now there's only 3 minutes worth of human labor in something that used to take 2 hours. I have a family member that owns a big factory in Baltimore, and he had a big robot. He bought a robot to do welding and things like this. It was a big advance for him. It took him like 6 or 7 months to program the robot. Now with AI people come in. We will program that robot. It's a special machine language called G code or whatever. And with AI, they will program that for you in 2 weeks, and you're finished.
Yeah, when I was in the Navy, I was stationed in Norfolk on a ship, LPH-7, and during the summer or during the school year, excuse me, and sometimes during the summer, we'd have like school age kids come in from programs from Norfolk and Virginia Beach to tour the ship, and you'd point to the things, they'd go ooh ah, and you're thinking, I do that every day. It's not ooh ah, but so you walk them through, give them the little, hey, U.S. Navy, blah blah blah, Petty Officer Eisenberg, this is what I do. Then you bring them down to the whole snipes, which is what we call the engineers. They go, hey, this is what we do. Everyone give like a little 2-minute, hey, this is what we do. And I remember one time, I think it was the last summer I was in the Navy. We had a kid come. He was very disinterested throughout the whole tour. He was like looking for the exit door. And a couple of times I wanted to show him the exit door, but we promised the captain we'd be polite. And towards the end, we always go, does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask, me, or any questions about what we've just seen in the Navy or in the ship? And one of the kids said, my mom said people join the military because they can't cut it in college. And I had to breathe heavy for a couple seconds, adjust my hat, look outside at the water, calm down. And I said, no. I said, some of the people on my ship right now are probably more apt at their job than college graduates are right out of their job. I said, this gentleman we saw in the engine room, I would trust them with my life before I would trust somebody right out of college in engineering. These guys know what they're doing. And I said, I'm not knocking college. It's great. I said, but you can't down somebody that wasn't in college. You can't look down on them. Oh, he didn't go to college. I said, these men and women we just seen compared to civilians are the top in their fields because they don't just read about what they're doing. They actually have to do it, and they have to do it under pressure, and they have to be right 100% of the time, or the 3,000 people on this ship aren't going to be around much longer. I said, so don't look down on college people. That's one of my problems with public schools. They don't push trades. They don't. It's kind of like college. Yeah, you could go to trade school, but college. Yeah, you could be a plumber. College.
Yeah. Seth, what do Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and Michael Dell have in common?
They all dropped out of college.
Michael Dell just donated $6.25 billion, probably the biggest charitable donation ever for American children's savings accounts and that sort of thing. And not every person has the aptitude or the interest in doing everything, but today only about a third of the students are doing math or English at their expected level in school. So I sometimes tell people, if you had a program which tried to inspire people and to take chances when they were young, to start to doing things, starting a business, and I give people ideas on different things to do that have low barriers of entry and things like that. But even if 1 out of 1,000, not a third, but even 1 out of 1,000 kids were inspired to do it, right? That would be success. If you think about how many thousands of students graduate every year, if 1 out of 1,000 decided they're gonna, okay, I know my teacher taught me about something or other, and now I saw some sort of automated machine, or I decided to hang my shingle up and do something. It is literally at the point where when I talk to people about it, that I don't think that the government or the Board of Education, they really even care. They're not even processing. It'll literally take private enterprise for someone to say, okay, let's start sort of a business incubator thing. And it's actually it's a very subtle kind of ideology, but it is an ideology nonetheless. I wouldn't necessarily, I don't know whether it's conservative or not conservative, whatever, but I mean, it's definitely a way of thinking. Do you remember in 2016, I think before the election, Trump was going to I think it was the Carrier air conditioner, and they were thinking about moving their plant to Mexico.
Right.
And he went and told them, he said, if you move that plant to Mexico and you're going to bring back your stuff back into the United States, we're going to tariff it. We're going to put some tariffs on it. And then Obama said something like, "Well, what do you think? What's Trump going to do to keep businesses here? He's going to wave his magic wand or something like that." And that was just, I don't know whether it was an ideology or not, but it was just two completely different ways of thinking.
Mhm.
He's a business person, and to the extent that he can, he's going to, to push the levers of government to try to do whatever it is that he can do. And other people, not that they're not capable of doing it, aren't even thinking along those lines,
No.
right? And especially people that they're not even. I mean, like I said, I remember the first pair of sneakers I saw. Now you can't buy things even manufactured in the United States. You just go up and down Home Depot and look at the little labels on the things.
Oh,
Where's
yeah.
it manufactured? This and that, and plus it's a major security issue for a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
There was some Koreans when they were deporting people. A whole bunch of Koreans in I think it was in Philadelphia. They got deported, and that was a mistake. And the reason why they were here is because the United States does not really have a shipbuilding industry anymore. We produce like 2 container ships a year. Korea's producing like 300 or something like that. And we got these Koreans here to show people how to do modern manufacturing. They were doing manufacturing like with technology out of 1940s and stuff. And so we've literally lost the capability of doing things, and the people, we've lost it so much, we don't even have people that could train anyone to do it. We have to bring in people from foreign countries. If we wanted to make a shirt, I mean, something as simple as a shirt, and to do it in a level that was, that there was like an industry standard right now, to a factory that would make 1,000 shirts a day or something like this. I don't think we would even have the infrastructure today to train people how to do it. We'd have to send people overseas to learn how to do it. But I'm an optimist. I believe that if we, that if the administration pushes from the top down, and in the education system pushes like from the bottom up, that somehow there will be some sort of coalescing, and people will take the chance.
True. So for some reason that QRC code came down. So if you want to know more about Sam and what he stands for and what he's running for, you can go to Sam for School Board. That's all one word.com, and you can find out more about him. There it is. So never mind. You can just scan the QRC code. And like I said, for everybody who comes on this show that's running for a position as a candidate, it's not cheap. And he's kind of alluded to that. It costs money. And I've also said, always support candidates that align with you, whether they're in your county, your city, your state, or whatever. If they speak to you, support them. So if you live in Western Maryland or Frederick County, send Sam money. I know candidates don't like asking for that because it's kind of weird. I know I was that way when I ran, so I'll ask for them. Send them money. $5, $10. Doesn't have to be thousands. 5 or 10 helps. You would not believe how far a candidate can stretch $10. You would be shocked at what they can do with $10. If you can't give them money, give him your time. Find out where he's going to be speaking, or at carnivals or something. Get handouts for him. Talk to your neighbors. Just don't assume that your neighbor's going to vote for somebody that you like, or he's going to win. He doesn't need my help. They need your help. Get off your butt and support what you like. Just don't assume somebody else is going to do it for you. So again, if you like him, you can scan that QRC code right there. Find out more about him. Sam, you got 2 minutes on the con. Give your 2-minute stump speech.
I don't really have a stump speech, right? I've given you all the juices that I've got. There are some things that are kind of controversial. There's this policy, 443, yep, which deals with with gender affirmation and all this kind of stuff. And I tend to be kind of conservative, but my feeling about this policy, because a lot of people just want to know, is that the policy is just a big distraction. I mean, all children today are protected by policies that protect them from harassment, from bullying. The policies are designed to give all children equal access to education. And so whether this policy existed or it didn't, I think we just need to enforce the existing policies and not be totally distracted when 2/3 of children at the school, really aren't getting, a basic education or math or English or stuff like this. The special education people that I've talked to, teachers, I talked to this one gentleman, and he told me that three of his daughters had graduate degrees in special education, and they all abandoned their careers because they were overworked and underpaid. They had to come in early and work on all these different special education programs for the children and everything. And then he told me how much it cost to put his children through college and everything. And I almost cried about it. I mean, so when this is the status of the school system, we cannot afford to be distracted. We need to constantly ask the question, is this the core of what the school system is supposed to be doing? Basically, teaching children and preparing them for adulthood. So that's my sort of common denominator for every policy that I see. Okay.
Okay.
And if you're pro business, that I'm your man.
Well, that's Sam Rosenbloom for you. He's letting you know what he's standing for. You got the QRC code, scan it, get a hold of him or talk to him or look at what he's got on his website. I'm sure he's very approachable. If you have questions, you can email him and ask him. If you live in Western Maryland, Frederick County to be exact, he's a candidate you should be looking at. Anytime a candidate talks about change, it's usually good because change is inevitable. And the only time change is really, really bad is if you fight it. If you try to fight change, it becomes more of a violent act than a natural act. So as long as change is for good, it's something you should look at. We can't have the same people on the board spouting the same ideas all the time because then nothing will change. It will all stay the same and nothing will get better. I would rather something get worse. That way we know what we got to fix. If everything stays the same, we don't know what's going on. So if it gets worse, good. We know exactly what we got to fix. Let's fix it. And if it gets better, great. Then we don't got to fix anything. Everything is perfect. But we all know nothing's perfect. And if it is, it doesn't stay perfect very long. Sam, thanks for coming on. You're welcome back any other time you want to come back. That's great. Just let me know. We'll bring you on. And I'm sure we're going to talk again at some point off the computer. So I'll know how the election's going, how the campaign's going and all that. So I'll keep in touch with you. But like I said, if you ever want to come back on, shoot me an email or a text and we'll get you on.
Thank you so much.
Hey, you're welcome. Everybody, again, Sam Rosenbloom, running for Frederick County Board of Education, with a business mind, looking at approaching as a business, which is probably not a bad idea. We got to pay the bills, so we'll be right back. Maybe. Let's see.
America's Pulse Network. The mainstream media is bought and paid for. The truth is twisted to fit their agenda. But America is waking up. Because podcasts are the future for trusted media. Welcome to the America's Pulse Network. It is a network built by patriots that upholds the Constitution. But America's Pulse Network stands for God, truth, and the America First movement. There is no corporate propaganda, no government spin, just real news, real talk, and real voices fighting for faith, freedom, and the future of this great nation with common sense. Here are some of America's Pulse Network podcasts. Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. The New Jersey State House Watch, hosted by Jack Brangen and Constance Detzel. APN's The Pulse is moderated by either Alexandra, Damon, Elena, or Seth. Also tune into America's Pulse Network on the following social media platforms: X, Rumble, Truth Social, Parler, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. Join the revolution because the pulse of America beats for God and country. America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.
Everybody, thanks for joining me again. That was Sam Rosenbloom, running for Frederick County Board of Education in Western Maryland. If you're not familiar with Maryland, Frederick County, Western Maryland. looking like he's got some good ideas. Sounds like he's got some good ideas. He needs some support. So if you live in the county, give him a hand. If you don't, you can still give him a hand. Like I said, it ain't cheap to run any campaign, and it is what it is. So help him out. Read up on him. Tell your friends about him. Anything you can do to help him, help him. So the next segment, we have a guest, but he's running a little late. Kirby Delauter. Again, if you're not from Frederick County, Western Maryland, you probably don't know that name. He's running a little behind. We're just waiting for him to catch up, but we still can start the segment and I can get into it because he was just here to give his opinion and his commentary on it, which is always welcome. He's a smart man. But technology ain't always so great. Sometimes it works against you. So we'll start, and when he gets here, if he gets here, we'll jump him on, and he can join in the conversation. This next segment is called "Wrong is Wrong," and the reason I put it like that is because we're going to talk about politics, and then specifically a politician in my area that, how do you put this? That should be embarrassed, but they're being supported by other people to cover up what happened. We'll get into that. Politicians work for us. They are our employees. And I think a lot of people have forgotten that. A lot of people look at politicians as rock stars and gods, and they can't do any wrong. And if they're on your side of the table, they're perfect. If they're on the other side of the table, they're always wrong, and vice versa. I have never once put a politician that high or made them that important to where I don't think they can do any wrong. And more importantly, when a politician does wrong, I expect them as my employee to be forthcoming and admit to it. Don't lie about it. Don't cover it up. Don't pretend like it didn't happen. And it's simple. When I'm at work, if I mess up, I have to answer to my boss. Hey, I did X, Y, Z. It wasn't on purpose. It was an accident. I apologize. 9 times out of 10, don't do it again. Get back to work. The problem occurs when you don't admit to it, or you try to hide it, or you lie about it. That's when the issue comes up. That's when we have a problem. More so with a politician, because they're supposed to be the cream of the crop. They're supposed to represent the people. They're supposed to be humble in who they are, a statesman, a person that puts their constituents in front of them. So when they mess up, it's bigger. And what's really weird about that is I'm going to use this for example. A Republican messes up. Democrats scream and yell, hold them accountable, hold them accountable. Same thing with Republicans. If a Democrat messes up, hold them accountable, hold them accountable, hold them accountable. Now, when somebody in their respective party messes up, then it's mum. They don't say anything. Very rarely do they say anything. And that's not right. I'm a conservative, but I still believe if a Republican screws up, you need to be called out for it. And if we have to call you out for what you've done and you don't admit it, then you probably shouldn't hold the position you have. And this is with facts and truth behind it. You can't just make baseless, like, you're an alien or you're a lizard person. It has to be something based in reality, something that there is proof to support. Yeah, my ring light just went out. I think I blew something. Well, same thing with Democrats. If you can't admit what you've done and you deny it and there's facts to prove that you've done it, you need to step down. And that's what happened in Frederick County. I'm going to show you a video, then I'm going to read an incident report that goes with the video. And then I'll kind of get into a little more after we see it. And I'll kind of walk you through the video because it's very grainy, but it's off of security footage, security camera at a bar in Frederick. Let me get to that right now. So what we have here is a lady right there, the very top right corner with her hand on the bar. She's just put something in her pocket. Now, the reason this is so condensed is because the file was so big, I couldn't get it downloaded. What had happened is she walked up to the bar. There was nobody else at the bar. She was talking to the bartender. As a matter of fact, let me just read the report for you. It makes it a lot easier. This is an incident report filed by the person who was holding the meeting. That woman, Patricia Kelly, was at a meeting of a club in Frederick County. The report documents the theft of $40 in cash from the bar area at the Frederick VFW, post 3285, during February 9th, 2026 club meeting. The subject, Patricia Kelly, took the money from the bar left by a person to pay an open bar tab. The incident was captured on venue surveillance video. The video was witnessed by two people, and I'm not putting these people's names in it, and the VFW COO, Chief Operating Officer, on the night of the event. The theft was intentional and to deprive veterans organizations of operating funds and effectively reduce the wages of the bartender on duty, because that was probably including his tip in that bar tab. And I'll play it again on the bartender on duty. The report was filed to create a formal record for the club to support any ethics complaints, proceedings, and to inform relevant Republican Party leadership and oversight bodies. Patricia Kelly is running for a position in Frederick County, Maryland. She's running to be on the Republican Central Committee. So she's going to be a person that's supposed to represent Republican values and Republican candidates, pick the cream of the crop, and then support them. So let me play the video. And remember, what we're picking up is when she has taken that $40 off the bar and is now putting it in her purse. She's got it in her left hand. She's looking to make sure the bartender's not looking, and then she puts it into her purse. That was a $40 bar tab left on the table, on the bar. It's not hers. I guess she's paying her bar tab at this point. And I was in loss prevention for 20 years. I took classes on interview techniques, surveillance. What she's doing now is trying to make sure she hasn't been seen. So she's going to hang out, pay her tab. She's going to continue to look around, keep her hand over where the money is, because that's just a thing the thieves do to make sure think nobody can see it then. And she's looking around to make sure no one noticed her. This is a person running for Republican office in Frederick County. And there's more to the report, and I'll read that to you. My point is, at no time has she said, hey, you know what, I screwed up. As of today, when I received this video, the VFW had barred her for life for returning. She's no longer allowed, at least as far as I know, up to the point I received this video. That might have changed, I don't know. But she's been barred for life from the VFW for that incident right there. I don't know, and I know a lot of people out there going, well, it's only $40. You know, what's the big deal? It's $40. It's not the amount, it's the principle. It's always the principle. If you can't be trusted with $40 in front of you and not able to fight the urge to take it when you know it's not yours, what can you be trusted to do that's right moving forward? What can I trust you with? I can't take you for your word anymore, because a thief is a liar. You can't be one without the other. You can be a liar and not a thief, but you can't be a thief and not a liar. Those two go hand in hand. So what can I take your word for at that point? I can't take your word for anything. And why would I want to run for a party that would allow someone like that to run for a position that's going to promote the party? This country, like I said, politicians are rock stars. And if they're a Republican, you're a Republican, they can do no wrong. If you're a Democrat and they're a Democrat, they can do no wrong. And if you're a true conservative, you can't abide by that philosophy. You can't accept that philosophy. As a conservative, you're about law and order. You're about the little guy, small businesses, smaller government. And if you see somebody on the Democrat Party doing that, you call it out like, hey, that's theft. I don't give a shit if it was $5. That's not your money. You have no right to take that money. You're a thief. And if you're a Republican, you have to do the same thing. You can't turn a blind eye to it simply because they have an R after the name, or if you're a Democrat because they have a D after the name. If there's a factual evidence behind that to show they did that, you have to call them out. You have to hold them accountable. And Justin Wages, I believe, he's the president, he's the chair of the Frederick County Central Committee for Republicans. He was made aware of this and basically said he doesn't think it happened. Was offered to see the video. He didn't want to see it. I believe it was him that said that it's not that big of a deal because the money is returned. Yeah, because the money's returned. And there were no charges filed. So that makes it okay. So if I rob a bank and bring the money back the next day, I'm not a bank robber anymore. I brought the money back. They didn't have a chance to file a report yet, so I'm not a bank robber. I brought the money back. That is the stupidest reasoning I've heard somebody say that's above the age of 10. Well, I gave it back. Doesn't matter. Theft is theft. The law doesn't say if you steal something but bring it back, it's no longer theft. Theft is theft. Once you take property that's not yours, whatever you do after that doesn't matter. I mean, it might matter if there's charges filed in their sentencing. Hey, you brought it back. We'll take that into account. But once you take that money, it's stolen. That is a theft. And there's no excuse for theft. Caveat. Theft is still theft, but if you have to feed your family and you go to the store and steal a loaf of bread or something to feed your family with, still theft, but it's understandable. Like, hey, I get it. I know why you took that. Still wrong, but you're not doing it because you want to do it. You're doing it because you have to do it. And there's also, they interviewed the lady who did it, Ms. Kelly, and I'll read that. March 6th was the last date in which she could withdraw from the race. She chose not to. She met with the person who wrote this report and sent me the video. She was very detached, remote, and showed no sense of accountability throughout the interview. When shown the surveillance footage, she stated that this is not something I would ever do, and repeatedly asked, can I see the other angles? The only moment of acknowledgement came when the interviewer offered the observation that some people commit theft for the thrill of it because they are the last person anyone would suspect. Ms. Kelly immediately responded, that's me, and raised her hand. Nowhere during this interview, she noted as saying, no, I didn't do that. That's not me. I don't know what you're talking about. It was, I would never do that. Or can I see another angle? But when the interviewer goes, hey, sometimes people steal because it's, no one would ever suspect them doing it, and that's why they do it. She goes, oh, that's me. Maybe I'm old-fashioned. I was raised by a police officer. I was in the military. My brother was in the military. My daughter was in the military. Wrong is wrong. I don't care who you are. Unethical is unethical. I don't care who you are. I don't care how popular you are in the county, state, or city you live in. I don't care what morons are out there covering up your bullshit because they have lunch with you every week and they just don't believe you can do it and refuse to look at the evidence. Theft is theft. And if you're in a position that oversees these people, like Justin Wages would be, is the chair of the Central Committee, and he ignores this, he's no better than the thief. He's ignoring fact. He's having somebody serve the general public and Republicans who's a thief and a liar. I question both of their ethics. There's an issue here because rest assured, if this were the video of a Democrat doing this in my area, they would both be the first ones screaming and yelling. They got to be held accountable. That's unethical. They got to be held accountable. Something should be done to them. Can't ignore this. They're trying to get an elected position of authority. They need to be held accountable. But since it's them, it's I don't think she would do it. We have lunch every week. I invited both of them to be on the podcast. Both of them. They're not here. Miss Kelly and me had a conversation back and forth, and she said that never happened. I just showed you the video. I just read you her statement, or parts of her statement, where she never once denied doing it. Justin Wages is quoted as saying, let me find out. Mr. Wages did not request a copy of the video to show the committee. That the Frederick County Central Committee had met in discussion that they would remain neutral in this issue. You can't remain neutral. Neutral is just as bad as committing. You've been told, and now you've said the entire board is behind the theft. If they don't care, theft is not a big deal. So now he's implicated the entire Frederick County Central Committee as complicit with the fraud. They know it. He knows it. And now they're saying, oh, none of us care. It's not a big deal. That's embarrassing to me as a Republican. And it should be embarrassing to everybody, regardless of your party. And there should not be a chance for Democrats to go, look, they're dirty. No, this is just a right or wrong thing. And if you attach a party to it, shut up. The party doesn't matter. The act is what matters. The person who committed it is what matters, not what party they represent. Maybe a little bit in this instance because she's running for a position to represent the entire party in the county. But overall, hold on, I'm trying to read some things. Am I going to re-enlist and fight the Iranian military? I am too old to re-enlist. And this is a little off the subject, but I told people if they post a question, I would try to answer it. Number one, do I care that victims were trafficked from Mar-a-Lago? That is false. There's no DOD report that says that, DOJ report that says that, no FBI report says that. As a matter of fact, if you've read the report, and I don't think you have, Trump reported Epstein and threw him out of Mar-a-Lago because he thought he was doing some bad things. Bill Clinton is on record saying Trump wasn't involved in anything untowards with Epstein. So I don't know. And this is what I mean. There are crackpots out there that run on feeling and emotions. What I just told you is not feeling or emotion. That's fact. There's a video. There's a statement. I have facts. I'm not making anything up. I'm not winging it. I'm not, running solely on emotions and feelings. I have facts. That's an emotion-based statement because there are no facts to back that up. There are facts to the contrary. And whether you like the man or not, running around and calling someone a pedophile is going to get you in trouble. You're going to be sued. You put yourself in a position to be sued for slander. I don't want to put myself in a position to be sued for anything. That's why facts are king. So if you want to put that out there in the public, go ahead. That's on you. You'll be held accountable for your statement, not me. Again, if there were facts that backed up your statement, I would say Trump needs to go. If there were facts and there was a third-party investigation, local police department, FBI, whoever, and they backed up that claim and they had evidence, yeah, he has to go. But there's no evidence to back up that claim. Iran sucks. Yes, Iran does suck. Would I go to Arabia? Where the hell is Arabia? I know where Iran is. I know where Iraq is. I've been to Iraq. Never heard of Arabia. Okay, so would I go fight? Where was it? Would I go fight? Am I going to fight to Iran? Are you going to Iran to wipe out a civilization? If I were in the military, I would go where they told me to go. It's really that simple. The military protects democracy. They don't practice it. You go where you were told. You do what you were told to do. It's really that simple. When you enlist in the military, no matter what branch, you sign and enlist knowing at some point you possibly will have to go kill the enemy. You take on that responsibility when you sign that dotted line. You're not forced to sign it. You don't have to volunteer. You don't. But when you sign that contract, you assume that responsibility that possibly one day you will have to go and kill the enemy. And when I joined, it didn't matter who the enemy was. Back then, it was Iraq. And if I were called to kill them, that's what I would do. Gladly, the position I was in was communication, so I directly didn't kill anybody or shoot anybody. But all positions in the military are there to facilitate killing the enemy. No matter what you do in the military, you're there to facilitate that job, to kill the enemy. And I know I'm off subject and I apologize, but I want to answer these questions because if I say I'm going to answer them, I'm kind of obligated. America's worldwide reputation is rock bottom. That's not true. I know people that live overseas. I'm very close friends with them. Their opinion of America hasn't changed. They love it. They think just like their country, we have some problems in our government. But that's with every country. No country has a perfect government. But nobody thinks less of us. None of the people I've talked to in Austria, England, Italy, and in Israel, nobody thinks less of us. So I don't know where you're getting that information, but they don't. He said he told Jeffrey Epstein and Chislane to stop it. No, he did not. He threw them out of Mar-a-Lago. That's fact. That's documented fact. Release the Trump-Stein files. He's guilty as hell. So they've released 3 million pages. Have you read all 3 million, Poppy? Have you gone through them and looked? I'm sure you're going to tell me you have. And there are people in Congress. I have a list of names. Well, when are they going to read these lists of names they have? When is this all going to happen? What is everybody waiting for before they release the truth? Personally, I think the truth's been released. That's all they have. And now what they're doing is political grandstanding. That's just me. So you went to kill an enemy that you don't know who the enemy is? So you went to kill an enemy that you don't know who the enemy. I don't understand. What do you mean I don't know who the enemy is? I'm not in the military now. So no, I wouldn't kill somebody if I didn't know the enemy. When I was in, we knew who the enemy was. It was very clear. I don't understand. Some people make my nose bleed. The world does not hate us. I don't understand why everybody thinks that. The world loves us because if it weren't for us, half of Europe would still be goose stepping around. So I don't understand where you get. Before I get back to what we were really talking about, I'm gonna sum this up. Thank you for your questions. I appreciate it. I don't expect an echo chamber. That's fine. But I do expect some semblance of intelligence in your question, some fact checking behind your question before you ask it. To make blanket statements like the world hates us, we're a laughingstock in the world, again, is not a factual based statement. That is an emotional, feeling based statement. And I can't answer an opinion. You're entitled to your opinions. I can't answer or debate an opinion. Like I'm entitled to my opinions, you're entitled to yours. But we can't debate opinions. You can't. It's like someone says, I feel bad. I can't say, no, you don't. I don't know. I have to take your word for it because, again, that's a feeling, an opinion. I can't go back and forth with opinions. Nobody can. What does the sand taste like where you're at? I don't understand the question. What does the sand taste like where I'm at? Like sand? How could he have kicked them out if he didn't know what they were doing? He said he suspected they were doing no good. That's what the police report says when he called. Again, you all have to do some fact checking. You're listening to CNN and these other morons on social media that spit out feelings. He called the police and filed a report. Just look at the police report. You don't even have to ask me. It's all on the police report. Just cover up for a rapist because that's what you admire and think that's what manhood is. You are simple-minded trash. Okay. Who's been convicted of rape? There we go. You just cover up for rapists because that's what you admire and you think that's what manhood is. You're a simple-minded trash. Who's been convicted of rape? That's a criminal charge. If somebody was convicted of rape, they'd be in jail. So who has been convicted of rape? I don't understand. Where do you people get your, not even facts? I mean, I get it. You don't like Trump. I don't like Trump 100%. I'm on board with him about 85 to 90% on what he does. I've never been above 90 for any president. You shouldn't 100% follow anybody except God and Jesus. You can follow them 100%. But any person on earth other than myself, I don't trust 100%. That'd be stupid to do. Europe would be goose-stepping behavior. What's the truth? Come on, think about it. The Nazis owned Europe before we got involved. It was theirs. And had they not gone into Russia with the Blitzkrieg, they would have won World War II had we not gotten involved. If they just stayed in Europe and a little bit of the Middle East they were in, they would all be goose-stepping now. Canadians sure aren't buying much of our products anymore. And you all do realize that this product thing is secular. It happens every 20, 30 years. Everyone starts bickering about paying this country for their stuff. And that it happens all the time. It's just now they're, oh, thank you. Now it's just, there's a convenient reason people use for it. Well, it's because of this. It happens all the time. Study economics. Half of these questions you could answer yourself if you took 2 minutes to breathe, tried some decaf coffee, and just looked logically at the stuff going on. Excuse me. The judge said her actions were rape, but the term is sexual abuse. In civil, do you understand that in civil court, the level for guilt and innocence is, the bar is far much lower than it is in criminal court. In civil court, you can use he said, she said, hearsay, I heard, I saw. In criminal court, you can't. And do you know why? Because that's the worst evidence in the world. Well, he told me this. Hearsay is the worst because you can't ask the person who told you that the questions. So civil, fine. He was found guilty in civil court, which means absolutely nothing. Criminal court, you show me a conviction in criminal court where the bar for evidence is much, much higher, then I'll agree with you. But until then, I don't care about it. There are people convicted in civil court for stupid stuff. Civil court is just there for whiny babies who know they don't have enough for a criminal trial to try to get money out of somebody. Because again, the bar for evidence is much, much lower than it is in criminal court. And you can ask any lawyer in the world, they'll tell you the same thing. It's like a grand jury. Well, he got a conviction out of a grand jury. I could get somebody to side with me in a grand jury because it's one side they're hearing. So yeah, grand juries also really don't mean that much. Russia saved the world from Hitler. No, he did not. He stopped Hitler. We forced Hitler to kill himself. We took back Europe. And again, I don't know where you people are getting your information from. I do. It's all emotional. It's all it is. Someone told you not to like Trump. They post some things on the internet and you take it as gospel. And that's fine. You are entitled to your opinion. Again, I can't argue with opinions. Saudi sand is gross. I sure wouldn't eat it. Yeah, it's Saudi sand is ugh. Sand period is nasty. But over there, it's got camel spiders and crap like that. I'm not doing that. Somebody check this guy's basement. That sounds like a little projecting there. What's in your basement? So you hate our justice system to defend a sexual assault. Don't hate the justice system, but you don't understand the difference between civil and criminal. There's a huge difference. Criminal court, again, demands a higher level of evidence. Civil court is just a preponderance. This means if you have enough people saying enough things that are all the same, that's guilt. That doesn't work in criminal court. There has to be evidence. Remember, everyone, this guy gets to vote. Yes, I do get to vote. And you should be thankful that I can. Because I have a different opinion of you means I shouldn't be able to vote. That's pretty fascist of you. Pretty communist. I don't think you should lose your ability to vote simply because you don't agree with me. See, this is the difference between Republicans and liberals. Liberals are violent people. If you don't think like they think, you should lose all your rights. I shouldn't be able to vote. Shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that because I don't agree with him. While me and other Republicans on the other hand say, that's fine if you don't agree with us. That's perfectly okay. That's what this country was founded on. Different ideas, back and forth. May the best idea win. But you can't do that with liberals, as evidence in the chat. You cannot do this you can't have a conversation with liberals because they go right to insults, and then the threats will come here eventually if we kept going. It's pretty sad. All right, I got to pay the bills. We'll come back, finish up about that video, and then we'll go to the end of the show. Maybe.
Welcome to America's Pulse Network. This is APN's very own White House correspondent, Alexandra Levine.
This is so amazing and miraculous. We've never had a president in the history of our nation doing this. And we hope to God that he continues doing this forever and ever. Thank you. God bless you, everybody. And God bless President Trump.
And God bless you.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine with the America's Pulse Network. I am the White House correspondent right here in the heart of D.C. as President Trump is celebrating 250 years of America and the military.
Subscribe and follow America's Pulse Network on the above social medias.
Okay, welcome back again. This is a conservative corner. Excuse me. I'm Seth Eisenberg. We just got done with Sam Rosenbloom, who's running for the Board of Education in Frederick County, Maryland, Western Maryland, if you're not familiar with the state. We were just talking about Patricia Kelly stealing off a bar, and that Justin Wage is the chair of the Republican Central Committee in Frederick. And according to him, his words are the rest of the committee just wants to stay neutral. They don't see a problem with what went on. So I don't know if that's the truth or not, but that's what he said. But I'm actually having a pretty good time with these questions. And I think we got like 10 minutes left. So I'll stick with these and go back and forth. I don't remember where we left off. Okay, here we go. We're going to go with this. Let me put this up here so I can see it, not have to squint. This is Michael Eddings. Why are you constantly trying to defend that lying ass piece of motherfucking shit? Motherfucker's one word. Never said I was defending him. I said, if you show me proof that he's been convicted criminally, I would support anything that happened to him. I'm just saying I don't put much faith into the civil law lawyer or civil law. Again, it's just a preponderance of evidence. Doesn't have to be proven. It's just if enough people are on your side saying, yeah, that's what happened, that's enough in civil court. If you can show me he's convicted in criminal court, I will support anything that happens to him. And I don't think anybody's ever said they wouldn't. Again, these are emotionally based arguments. They assume they know what I would think. Again, raised by a police officer. Do you think I would overlook criminal law and say, oh, it's not a big deal? I was in the military, fought for the Bill of Rights. You think I would just ignore the fact someone's been convicted of a crime? Come on. You can do better than that. You get your information from people who've testified in court. I got to show it because I'll squint the entire time. No one says that no one would believe them, but the bar for guilt or innocence in a civil court is much, much lower than it is in a criminal court. I'm not going to say that again. There has to be evidence presented for arguments in criminal court. Proof, eyewitness testimony, things that can be backed up and then researched. Not so much in civil court. You can have a... What did I tell you? When a liberal doesn't like what you're saying, they insult you. You can have a conversation with a liberal, but you must live in reality. I cannot have a conversation with somebody in reality when the person I'm talking to thinks a man can get pregnant. I can't have a conversation with somebody based in reality when they think women and men can interchange their sex because they say so. That's not grounded in reality. I'm trying, but all my responses I get from you people are based in emotion. No one has shown me any facts. Nobody. Another pedo protector. Again, once you don't agree with what they have to say, liberals will result to insults and violence. Not protecting a pedophile. No one has been convicted of it. And I don't care what anybody says. Prove it. What's it, Wacky Head? If someone accused Wacky Head of being a pedophile and came to me and said, you know what, he's piddling little boys in a van. Prove it. I'm not going to side with them simply because they tell me. And you shouldn't side with anybody until you see facts. That's the great thing about this country. You were innocent until proven guilty. Just because someone says you did it, like I said, if someone accused you of being a pedophile, Wacky Head, it's not true unless there's facts. And I wouldn't just jump on board because they said you did. Even if I didn't like you, I wouldn't jump on board and go, yeah, he did it. He did it. There's got to be facts, or this world or this country's going to hell if we can just blindly accuse people of things without facts and they're convicted. The law is here to protect everybody. You, me, Trump, everybody. That's why you can't go around accusing people without facts unless you go to civil court. Then it's, again, a different standard. Why wouldn't Trump give his DNA in court? Honestly, I didn't know he was asked for his DNA, so I can't answer that. I didn't know that. If he was asked, that's different than being ordered. Again, if it's not a court order, you don't have to listen to that. I don't have to listen to that. Unless it's a subpoena from the court, it doesn't mean much. But if you're saying he was subpoenaed by the court, they gave a court order from a judge that said you need to surrender DNA to this court, and he didn't, that's a different story. But I'll have to look into that because I don't know. I have never heard that. Not saying you're not telling the truth about that. I'm just saying I haven't heard it. I will look into it, and the next time I'm on, if you come on, I'll let you know what I found out. But I agree. If it was a court-ordered request or subpoena, not even a request, a subpoena for his DNA, and he didn't give it, he's in the wrong. Nobody's above a court order. Nobody's above a subpoena. Things that touch water, well, it's WATER. Things that touch water are wet. Yes, they are. Sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and fire is hot. You don't know a lot to say you know so much. I've never claimed to know much, man. What have I claimed to be an expert at? You're giving me your opinion. I'm giving you my opinion. I do have some legal knowledge. I'm not a lawyer, but I have enough to be dangerous. We're not talking about a lot. This has been a pretty much laser focused discussion. So I really don't know what you mean, Wacky Head. You'll have to expound upon that. I don't understand what you mean. I say a lot when I don't know much. Or you don't know a lot to say you know so. You know what I'm saying? You need to expound on that statement. I don't know what you mean. Honestly, I don't. Maybe actually looking at the case. And didn't I just say I'd have to look into it to find out about it? Dude, you need to slow down and breathe. Read to understand. Don't read to simply respond. I said exactly what you've just said there. I need to look into the case. I don't know about it, so I'm not going to speak on it. I'll have to look into it. And if you come back next time I do a show, I'll let you know what I found out, and then we can try to have an adult discussion. Apparently, it's very hard for you, but we can try to have an adult discussion after I read into the case. I can't believe I got to repeat myself. Michael Edding again. You must be blind and can't see the facts, or really just don't want to believe because you're delusional and think these. I've just told you, Mikey, I'm on board with Trump 85 to 90% of the time. I don't think he's God. I don't think any man is God. I don't think any woman is God. I am not on board with him 100% of the time. I don't think he's God. He's not infallible. He can make mistakes like any other president before him. I'll see facts when you present some facts. So far, all you've presented me is opinion and feeling and emotion. No facts. The video I showed you of Patricia Kelly stealing, that's a fact. Can't refute it. It's right there in front of you. There's a report. Can't refute it. It's right there. So when you show me things that I can't argue with because they're fact, and I will agree. Who's this? Oh, wacky weed, wacky head. Then why are you talking about it? Then why are you talking about it? Again, I can talk about anything I want. And I've told you all when I've talked about it, I don't know about the case you're talking about. I will look into it. I don't know how many times I got to tell you that. I will look into the DNA thing. And again, if you show up next Sunday, or not next Sunday, the next Sunday I do a show, we can have a discussion. And that's why I'm not talking about it, because I don't know. I don't, is there an answer you want me to give you that you're looking for? Or I don't understand. Be an adult. And, oh my God, dude, I just told you, I have to look into it. Dude, you're beating it like Seabiscuit. Let it go. I told you I'll look into it. Damn. Let it go. God bless the God bless the United States of America. I have given them myself, my daughter, my brother gave himself, my stepbrothers gave themselves. We've all served this country. And I wouldn't serve this country if I didn't believe in the ideals this country stood for. I wouldn't have given them my daughter if I didn't believe in the ideals this country stood for. I've never once said this country's perfect. Never. I will say and stand by this country's excellent. We are the closest to perfection a country can get in the entire world. Are there things that need to be tweaked? Yes. Yes. God, yes. And I will agree with all you people. Insurance is the first thing we got to tweak. I don't think it's set up to help people. I think it's set up to make money. And I don't agree with that. So yeah, there's some tweaks we have to do. But no one's trying to get into Italy. No one's trying to get into Egypt. No one's trying to get into China. They're trying to sneak here. Why? Because it's that horrible and we're that shitty of a country that everyone's trying to sneak in here? You got to think about that for a second. No benefit dog. I have no idea what you mean. I don't know what that means. Possum the cat. That's just funny. I know I've seen the name before, but it just makes me laugh. Yep, America. I mean, America. It's the only country in the world, really, if you think about it, the only country in the world where you can freely call the president a pedophile in public and not wind up in a work camp or disappear forever. Try doing that in England now. Heck, if you even say that on Facebook in England, they come arrest you. Go say it in China. Go say that any other country in the world, say that and see what happens. Here, you can do it to the applause of other people. It's if you can't see the beauty in that, if you can't comprehend that because you're so blinded with anger and emotion, that's on you. That's on you. Okay, what's this one? This is from Michael Eddings again. Trump and Epstein videos and photos of partying up best friends is a fact. No, most of those videos have been shown to be AI. That's a fact. That's a fact. There's a video was it Bill Clinton in a hot tub with a woman? I think that's AI. I don't even think that's legit. See, that's the problem with people nowadays in Facebook and social media. You can AI a picture of anything, and enough people will believe it's real. You have to look at things logically, and you have to detach yourself from the picture. Even if you don't like I don't like Clinton. I think he was a horrible. He got a blowjob in the Oval Office while he was married. But you have to pull away from the picture and look at it objectively. And I looked at that picture of Bill Clinton objectively. And I thought it was AI. Am I wrong? I could be. I don't know. Because it's hard now to tell AI from real. And I think that's done on purpose. I think they do that so everybody's constantly, I don't know if it's real or not. So yeah, I think Bill Clinton's picture was AI. I think some of Trump's pictures were AI. I think most of this stuff is from AI. just how it is now. You can't believe anything you see on social media at all. And now apparently you got to be careful what you believe in the media because they're making shit up too. Oh my God, it's wacky head. Dude, you just respond to respond. You don't listen to anything I say. You don't. I think you're so hyped up that I'm paying attention to you and I'm posting your message up on the screen. You're like shaking and you're like, oh my God, I get to say something. Dude, you're not listening to what I say. You just want to respond. So you have at it, buddy. You have at it. I don't. I'm not even going to comment on what he says here. I'm just going to put him up here and you all can laugh at him with me. I mean, he's not listening. It's obvious he is not listening. He is driven in toto by his emotions. He wants to be right so bad that he's not listening to what's being said. He's responding to what he hears. And he's just putting it up there. Like, look at this. Whatever, dude. And I think this guy's the same way. I think he's just so happy someone's listening to him. Dude, I haven't defended anybody. I've just asked for fact. And if that means I'm defending somebody, well, then so be it. You too, Possum Cat. Have a good, well, you got one more day. So you got a whole full day left on your weekend. So you enjoy that. So yeah, I think I've dealt with the children long enough because they're not listening. So trying to discuss this with them is pointless. I mean, it's truly pointless. So maybe we'll try this again some other time when there are adults in the room or whatever. So we're getting ready to wrap it up. So usually I read an opinion. And again, it's an opinion. And I guess I should explain what an opinion is to Wacky Head and Michael Eddings. An opinion is not fact, kind of like your argument you're making. It's an opinion. It's based on what I've observed and how I feel about things. Don't have to agree with it. Again, it's an opinion, not based in any fact. Kind of like your arguments you've made all night. Opinions. So where is it? There we are. Okay. Usually my opinions don't really have much to do with the show, but this one kind of does because I think some of it's very important. In the era of eroding trust, one faith keeps flourishing. The worship of politicians, as proven here. Not merely support or loyalty, but fervent adoration that casts flawed officials as messiahs or infallible champions. Rallies become revivals, slogans turn scared, and criticism is branded heresy. This is not politics. It is idolatry in modern dress. Like the people who saw that video and said, it's not a big deal that she stole $40 off the bar. It's not a big deal. It's only $40. Humans crave heroes, and politicians exploit that instinct with charisma, viral moments, and simple narratives on both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat. Excuse me. Voters, short on time and data, outsource judgment to personality. They do not back policy so much as they believe in the leader. Scandals are excused as persecution. Contradictions vanish. They figure gets it. They figure people get it. Cognitive dissonance seals the deal. Admitting flaws feels like personal betrayal. History echoes loudly, from divine emperors to the 20th century personality cults. Elevating rulers above scrutiny has always weakened societies. Today's democratic version is softer yet equally corrosive. Supporters across the spectrum trade nuance for vibes, competence for narrative, and results for tribal signaling. Media and algorithms amplify the spectacle, turning citizens into fans. The costs are steep. Democracy presumes fallible actors held accountable by informed voters, like with that video. Worship infantilizes people, rewards showmanship over governance, and erodes institutions. Polarization hardens as each side views its champion as divine and the other as demonic. Real power bureaucracies and interest groups escape scrutiny while the public awaits the next savior. Economic failures, regulatory bloat, and broken promises persist loyalty because loyalty is more important than evidence. Breaking the spell demands maturity. Good luck with that. Treat politicians as ambitious professionals with incentives to overpromise and underdeliver. Judge them by records and outcomes, not by rhetoric or identity. Demand competence and integrity regardless of the tribe. Skepticism is not cynicism. It is the bedrock of self-government. Lower the pedestals, raise the standards. Otherwise, cycles of hype, disappointment, and fresh Masonic hope will continue, leaving citizens even more dependent on temporary idols who rarely earn their altars. It's on both sides of the party. There's not one party that has that cornered while the other party is virtuous. It's not how it is. As I've just shown in that video. You've got somebody on the Republican Party stealing on video. And you've got other members of the local party supporting that and defending it because it was only $40. What's the big deal? She would never do that. Well, do you want to see the video? No, I don't want to see the video. I just know she would never do it. So if you live in Frederick County, be real careful who you're voting for. Real careful. Or what you vote for is what they're going to support. And what they support is what will be elected. You have a feckless leader. You have an untrustworthy candidate. And apparently, according to Justin Wages, the entire board or central committee knows about the theft, and they're just going to stay out of it. You can't stay out of it once you know it. Once you know about it, you have to be involved. So again, be very careful who you're voting for in Frederick County. Be very careful who you're voting for anywhere you live. You have to take the time to educate yourself about the candidate. You can't just assume because they say so, they're good people. You have to take the time, get off your ass, spend 5 minutes, and look into a candidate. It's really not that hard. And if it's that important to you, you'll do it. If you just run on emotion and feelings, the first person that makes you feel good is who you're going to vote for. It's really, really that simple. But be careful who you support. No matter where you vote, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, be careful who you vote for. Be careful who you put your support behind. Like with Sam Rosenbloom, we have a link to his campaign website. Go look at it. Don't take my word for it. Go look at what the man has to say himself. Most candidates nowadays have websites. Go look at them. Go to their town halls and their meetings and ask them questions. And don't ask them softball questions. Ask them tough questions. Because if you run for politics, you got to have a thick skin. It's not like you can be a pansy or a snowflake and run for political office because you won't last. It's a blood sport. Not that I agree that it should be, but it is. That's just how it is. So look into people before you vote for them. And that's how it goes. Well, thanks for hanging out tonight, especially Wacky Head. And what's that guy? Michael Edding. Thanks for hanging out. I hope both of you calm down enough and rein in your emotions enough to have an adult conversation at some point. Because you seem pretty smart. You seem pretty passionate. You just got to control the emotions, man. I'm not getting excited. It is what it is. If you're right, you're right. Great. But yeah, both of you need to calm down, try decaf, get off the sugar, take a nap, whatever it is you do to calm down. And if you could come back the next Sunday I'm on and you're calm, we can have a conversation. Hell, I'll bring you on and we can have, face-to-face conversation. But you got to be calm. You got to show me you can be calm. Right now, you can't. So yeah, next Sunday, not next Sunday, I'll be on in the next month, the last Sunday of next month while I take care of some issues. Excuse me. Hope you can be there this Wednesday. We have the Pulse where me and a bunch of other people get together and discuss things and give our opinion on it. So I hope you can make it there. If you have any questions, you can email me at on Facebook at the Conservative Corner or on X at the Conservative Seth. You can get a hold of me there. Or you can just wait till next Sunday and post your question. And I hope today proves if you put a question up, I will try to answer it. I mean, and you don't even have to agree with me, and I will try to answer your questions. I think I did a pretty good job. I think I did. I didn't forget anybody's question or didn't put it up there if I didn't agree with them. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. That's a beautiful thing about this country. You can have an opinion and you're not going to get in trouble for it. So again, this Wednesday at 8 on Rumble, the last Sunday of June. Yes, the last Sunday of June I'll be on. I don't know what the date is at. Same bat time, same bat channel. We'll talk about entirely new stuff. Thanks for hanging out with me. Wacky Head and Michael Eddings. Seriously, if you can calm down, have an adult question, get a hold of me, and we'll try to arrange sometime the next time I'm on for you to be on, and we can have an adult discussion. The emphasis is on adult. You can get a hold of me on one of those pages, and we'll see how it goes. I'm not promising you, but if you can show some class and tact and get off the emotion and have a fact-based conversation, more so a fact-based conversation if you're going to accuse people of things. You need to back that up with facts. If you just want to discuss opinions, that's fine. But that's an opinion. And it really doesn't mean anything other than the person who's giving it. Your opinion means stuff to you. My opinion means stuff to me. Doesn't mean anything to anybody else. Like your opinion doesn't mean anything to anybody else. So we'd have to specify what we're discussing. Opinion's fine. Facts, fine. Again, Wacky Head, I have to look into that DNA thing. I've never heard of it. I've never seen it anywhere. I haven't heard it in any of the news. So I will look into that and see what I can find. And I've told you once, and I'll tell you again, if it was a court order that he ignored, signed by a judge, and he disobeyed that court order subpoena, you were right. He should be held accountable. But until I read it for myself and find out what's going on, I am not going to side one way or the other. So everybody have a good evening. Again, see you all Wednesday at 8 on Rumble. That's really it. Everybody have a good evening. Thanks for hanging out with me. Everybody have a good holiday. And remember, tomorrow's Memorial Day. You do not wish veterans happy Memorial Day. Memorial Day is for the veterans or military members who never made it home. It is not have a great Memorial Day. You don't do that. So when you're eating your hamburgers, your hot dogs, and drinking your beer and enjoying your day off, remember there's thousands and thousands and thousands of your countrymen who have died in lands that we probably can't pronounce or don't even remember that aren't home. Memorial Day is to remember them. That's why we have the day off. You're supposed to take that time to thank them. Go to Arlington National Cemetery if that's close. Watch the changing of the guard. Something. Go to a VA hospital. Thank the vet center. Or don't thank them. Spend time with them. It's really that simple. So remember Memorial Day, what it's about. It's not about hamburgers and hot dogs and beer. Everybody have a good evening, and I will see you Wednesday at 8:30 on Rumble for the Pulse.